Speed.
Ben Lewis, take 1 mile.
All right, Ben. Let's start with your name, your title, where you work, and how long you've been with UTC.
All right, Ben Lewis. I work at Pratt & Whitney. I work in government finance. I've been with UTC since 2001, so it's a small amount of time.
All right, let's.
I have one thing bothering me. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm just gonna move the chair. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Good. We'll do that again at the end. So let's talk about when you first learned that Amelie had type 1 diabetes. Can you talk a little bit about what you were going through emotionally, and just how that occurred?
Sure. We learned Amelie had type 1 first week of school, so back in September. So I remember she went to the doctor office, and basically they gave us an appointment at the hospital the next day. And I was pretty much clueless at that point in time. My wife was, of course, doing all kinds of research online and saying, like, you have no idea what we're in for. And she was right. So it was probably the midway through the second day, they do 2 full days of training, that I was like, okay, this is going to be different. Not just different, very different. So I frankly have never been so overwhelmed in my entire life.
And we talked about, I think on the phone, I think someone pulled you aside and said, don't ever let your daughter see you upset. Can you talk a little bit about that at the hospital?
Yep. So, I was right around, like I said, midday, lunchtime, that second day. Amelie had gone out of the room. She, was doing probably a finger stick. We were getting ready to have lunch. And of course, even then, that first day of training, she couldn't eat until the first time we gave her shots. She had to give her insulin. And I was pretty like a mess, I would say. And the educator there, just Comelita, I remember her just looking at me and being like, never, ever let her see you like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess, this is right. This is it. It's the way it's going to be from now on. And you know what? You're going to live your life and it will be fine. It just, for me at that point in time, it was pretty overwhelming to think about all the different things that we do and how we're going to fit diabetes into that.
So talk about all the different things that you guys do. I mean, all the sports that you guys do as a family, activities that you enjoy. Just how has that all changed or not changed with Amelie?
Yeah, I'd say, for us, we like to be pretty active. We are outside as much as we can be during the summer. Right now it's springtime. I mean, it's softball and baseball season. So we're going all over the place doing those 2 things. I coach my girls softball team. I would say, I don't know. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But you were really. What was your question again?
Just all of the activities that you guys participate in, and just how has it changed?
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, so I apologize. But right before we found out that she had diabetes, like we were on a vacation and we went to Boston, right? And we enjoy going to Boston. We're big sports fans. We're Boston fans. We went to a Red Sox game and we just walk. Like that's our mode of transportation. And Amelie, on that trip, I just remember her being like, "Daddy, can you carry me? I'm so tired." And I was like, "No, we walk. We know that's what our family does. We walk." And we also do a lot of biking. And I just remember her, being also very tired all the time. And, come to find out that was really because, her blood sugar levels and she wasn't getting enough energy that she needed to be able to do that. So, looking back on it now, I probably should have picked up on it then, but, it just, I don't know. Yeah, it just, everything you do now, all of that activity, you really have to plan in advance, right? For what how you're gonna manage her, what she's gonna eat or not eat, and what her blood sugar level is gonna be. So it just changes the dynamic of everything that you do as a family.
about what a typical day is like now, with meals in the morning, breakfast, planning for school, for camp, just what a typical day is like now.
Sure. A typical day for us is just like any other family. You know, you get up if it's a school day. You know, your kids have to get the bus at probably different times. My son is a bit older, so he goes to an earlier bus. But it's breakfast, pack your lunch, take a shower, all that. So, you know, with Amelie, what's changed about that routine is really that you just need to plan for everything. So, if she's going to take a shower, she's got to take her pump off, right? And before she takes her pump off, you just have to know that her levels are okay. And then before she eats breakfast, you have to know what she's going to eat for breakfast and how much she's going to eat for breakfast, and then plan for that, right? And then I would say what's changed about what's available for breakfast from a food perspective is we've kind of cut out certain things that used to be in our pantry that are now not in our pantry, just because not all carbohydrates are the same, right? So we've learned over time what her body is capable of handling versus not. And certain foods, even if they have, let's say, the same carb level as other foods, might send her blood sugar skyrocketing. So breakfast can be a battle for us. Not every morning, but a lot of mornings. And usually it's a higher stress time. So like everybody's in the kitchen, everyone's trying to get out of the house, and there's a lot going on. But you know, you manage, right? And then, you know, they go on the bus, and my wife and I go to work, and we come home from school. So while she's at school, she's you know, sees the nurse quite a bit. We've worked it out so that she doesn't have to go to the nurse quite as often. So we, through the technology that we use today, she's able to call, her teacher can call the nurse and communicate remotely, you know, what her blood sugars are. And then she takes the bus home. They always check her before putting her on the bus. So there's been occasions where I've had to pick her up from school because she's been too low to be able to get on the bus. But otherwise, you know, she comes home. First protocol is you unpack your bags, right? Homework. There's activities that are probably going to be going on that evening, and you're always checking to make sure what levels she are. She usually wants a snack when she comes home. So then there's a conversation about how to plan for that snack. And then it's, activities and mealtime. So just like any other family.
And how have your other children adapted or supported, I guess, Amelie and just what she's going through and what you guys are going through as a family? Do they understand or?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I would say, you know, we are very fortunate. I think our other two kids, you know, are very understanding. I'd say, you know, they've made comments, especially my older daughter. She's made comments to me like, you know, she's like, oh, I wish Amelie didn't have diabetes, you know, because she's seen them go. So when we first were diagnosed, I mean, she did finger sticks all the time. It was just a real challenge, right? And over time, it's gotten easier. But, you know, they've been very understanding. My son, who's 12, he doesn't like to admit it, but he actually likes, you know, he will watch out for her on other events. He'll like have her phone that has her GCM readings on it, and will follow her around the playground, you know? So, as much as he doesn't like to admit that he's like, you know, the caring older brother, it's there. The one challenge I would say is Amelie has required so much attention, right, initially, and usually she requires more attention than the other two, that you sometimes get not caught, but you just have to be cognizant of how that might impact how the siblings are feeling. So, and then there's always a delicate balance of, you know, I mentioned diet earlier. If you're going to change your diet, you don't want to isolate, you know, Amelie. You might want to change it for your whole family. But then the other kids see that and could view that as a punishment. So how do you manage that? It's a challenge.
Okay, great. How did you first learn about JDRF? What type of support have they given you? And just talk about, I guess, that relationship and the support that you've received.
Yeah, we actually, you're going to make me feel old. We first learned of JDRF. Both my wife and I started at UTC the same year in 2001. It's only like 5 years ago. But we were both in finance at the time and both had the opportunity to volunteer for JDRF fundraising. And it was in 2002 or 2003 that we actually had an opportunity to attend a Promise Ball way back then. But so aside from that, you have a general concept of what JDRF is, but I would say you don't fully appreciate everything that they do and until you're kind of immersed in it. So my first exposure to JDRF was that, right? And you've always on the periphery kind of known, and UTC is always supported, and they do fundraising for JDRF every single year. But I would say obviously since September, we've really got to be a little bit more intimate with JDRF. And so our experience has gone from the periphery to being like, I would not say fully immersed because we're still early in our journey with diabetes, but for sure much more involved. So I think my wife mentioned, right, that they sent you this bag of hope, right? And which Amelie, you should see her face. She lit up, right? It makes her feel pretty special, right? So that, and then just the events that they hold, right? It took us about, I'd say, a month, after we first learned Amelie had diabetes before you kind of feel like you've got enough control to start talking to other people. So once you get over that initial hump and you're like, okay, we're in a place where we can think we can do this now. We were just lucky enough. We went to the walk, the JDRF walk, right? That was at the Pratt & Whitney campus in the fall. And just the people you run into, right? And like just so supportive. And then people that you've known through work that you may not know be connected to diabetes just come out. And so it was just a really good experience for us. And then the Type 1 Summit they had in Hartford, I think also Meredith mentioned, that was a great just educational experience. And they offer, I don't know how to say it, they offer just so much from an educational perspective. But for me, I think so far, and again, we're only still, I would say, in our infancy with our relationship with JDRF, it's like they give you hope and community. It's like, in my mind, I think I said to you on the phone, right? Hope that one day there is going to be a cure, and they're driving towards that, right? So that the life for my daughter will be exponentially better, right? But then the other aspect that I did not appreciate is just the community aspect. And there's so many people that are out there that know so much and just are so open and willing to talk with you. It was just, that has been very surprising for me.
Awesome. Can we do that part again? People don't know that we talked on the phone, right?
Oh,
so,
sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just like talking to you.
No, let's start at hope and community. I just want to make sure that we get it.
Okay.
So the greatest benefit we think, I think we've received from JDRF is.
Okay, sure. So the greatest benefit I think we've received from JDRF, if I were to kind of summarize it, in my mind, I just frame it as, hope and community. So one is there's so much research that they support and activities that they do that one day there might really be a cure for type 1, which would obviously make my daughter's life that much better, right, as well as everyone else with type 1. So, but what I really underestimated was the community aspect around JDRF, and that every event that we've been to so far, you were just connected with so many people, and everyone is so willing to talk to you and just, it's almost on an educational level, but personal support level as well. So you interact with other families with kids, and those kids interact with Amelie, and Amelie is like, she gets so excited because like, look, Dad, like there's other kids like me, And then we ran into, at one of the tables, there was a diabetes only camp, right? And she's like, so that got her all excited about going to diabetes, like where all kids would be like her. So just when you think in your head, your kid might not think they're different because you do all the normal things you do, but she still feels different, right? Because she's got to do finger sticks every now and then. She's got to carry her pump, right? She's got to have insulin before she eats. So yeah, for me, at that community aspect, I just really underestimated kind of walking into what I was expecting.
Okay, great. Let me think. Talked a little bit about the walks that you participated in. How have UTC and Pratt and Whitney supported you in managing Amelie's type 1? I think you told us a story about going into your boss's office when you first found out. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So when we first found out, right, it was the first week of school. So, you know, like every parent, I think you plan out the school year, right? And you set up organized activities or things for your kids after school so that as a working parent, you can both manage your career as well as home. And so one thing about diabetes is that you need to have constant care. And no matter where Amelie goes, because she's so young, she can't do self-care yet. She just needs to have that support for her. And so what we had arranged for her after school activities did not have that support. So it was an immediate change that had to happen. So one, when she was diagnosed, I mean, you're 2 days out of the office to go through 2 days of intensive training. And that 2 days of intensive training is really only the high level stuff. It doesn't cover everything. So, but from then on, it was like either Meredith or I had to be home after the bus. And neither one of our jobs were set up or designed to be that way. But I would say the support that we received from both Pratt and Otis was just unbelievable. It was hard to imagine when I first went down this path. But so immediately I had to start leaving at 3:00 every day. And my boss at the time was extremely supportive and did whatever was required to be able to accommodate my schedule. And I'm just very grateful for that. And it wasn't just my immediate boss, right? It was the larger finance community that I work in. So that was very good.
Great. I think we're hitting on pretty much everything. What do you think is most important for families like yours to know about type 1 diabetes? Families who may have just been recently diagnosed or are going through something similar?
Okay. I think if there's one thing I would say, is Meredith around? She won't like this, but I'll share it with you just between us. You know, being in finance, you want to manage a perfect number, right? And one thing about diabetes is that you will never get perfection, right? So I think part of our early struggles was that we tried to control her in such a way that is just not achievable, in all honesty. Like, diabetes is a daily battle. Like, what I mean in terms of monitoring your glucose levels, right? Something that worked yesterday, all else being equal, will not work today, you know? And I think it took us a long time to get to that place, and through actually a lot of the JDRF events and people that we've talked to and people that have had diabetes for, you know, like 30 years, you know, when we haven't even have experience with for a year yet. So that would be one thing. And then the other thing is eventually, and I can say it now, I'm not sure I could say it back in the fall, but you will get back to your normal life, right? You just will have to find ways to incorporate that aspect in everything that you do. But you'll get there, and it'll be fine.
That's nice.
Sorry?
That was nice.
That was very nice. I think I'm good.
One more introduction and then.
Yeah.
An introduction.
Name,
Oh,
where you work,
oh.
what you do, and how long you've been with UTC.
My name is.
So let me, I've my total time is only 12 years because I left and came back. Should I say that, or you just want me to say like 2001? Like I'll just
I
say.
started at UTC in
All right.
2001. We'll just
Okay,
we'll
fine.
breeze over that.
Got it.
You never left.
All right. So, So my name is Ben Lewis. I work in government finance at Pratt & Whitney. I've worked at UTC since 2001.
Great. One more, if you don't mind, and don't look at us. Just look right at her. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah,
Guys,
yeah.
there's
Sorry.
cameras on this, so it's hard.
All right. My name's Ben Lewis. I work in government finance at Pratt & Whitney, and I've been with UTC since 2001.
Perfect.
I think we're
I
good.
think that's it.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right.
We'll do our little portraits. We'll do them quick.